Ukraine has begun using the latest technology to intercept Shaheds, the Ukrainian Armed Forces Unmanned Systems Forces announced. According to a Telegram post, operators of the Dark Node unit of the 412th Nemesis Regiment of the SBS have already destroyed more than 10 enemy Shaheds 136/131 attack UAVs using the latest technology. It is noted that the product costs about $5,000, while the cost of the enemy's kamikaze drones is more than $150,000. The Unmanned Systems Forces continue to implement innovative solutions that increase the effectiveness of the Ukrainian Defense Forces to save the lives of Ukrainians. Expect further official news regarding the activities and results of work in this area, the SBS emphasized. As media reported in October last year, the British newspaper The Telegraph wrote that Ukraine had created a drone that could intercept the Shaheds. The publication noted that it was a controlled drone called Sting. It should become a cheaper replacement for anti-aircraft missiles, which sometimes have to be used to intercept the Shaheds. The Sting is a classic quadcopter design with a large dome jutting up from its center where the warhead and camera are mounted. It will be piloted from the ground using VR goggles that allow the operator to see exactly where it is flying. A future development will have an AI-powered targeting system that will allow the pilot to home in on enemy targets, the Telegraph writes. Although the Defense Forces have been successfully destroying Russian Zala and Orlan reconnaissance drones with small FPV drones for some time, the Sting will be the first drone specifically designed to combat the Shahed 136. The Russians launched between 30 to 80 of these kamikaze drones daily, and this has become a problem for Ukrainian air defenses. According to Wild Hornet's spokesman, the average cost of a Sting interceptor drone is tens of times lower than that of a Shahed drone. This will save on scarce anti-aircraft missiles. Before that, in September, it became known that Ukraine was actively working on creating 3 main types of interceptor drones. Bild reported that they were quadcopters, wing-type interceptor drones, and long-range killer drones. It was noted that Ukraine hopes to create 3rd type interceptor drones no later than 2025. American A-10 Warthog attack aircraft could help Ukraine defeat Russia by delivering powerful strikes against Russian tanks and air defense systems, according to former US Army officer and military analyst Brent Eastwood in an article for 1945. He said the aircraft was obsolete for the US Air Force, and the intriguing idea of transferring decommissioned A-10 Warthog Thunderbolt IIS to Ukraine for use against Russian forces could be a great fit. The A-10 could fly drones to attack Russian tanks and infantry fighting vehicles. The A-10 could also destroy enemy air defenses and artillery installations, Eastwood said. The expert added that Ukrainian pilots will have to train hard to fly the A-10, but training pilots to fly the Warthog is not impossible. As with the F-16, it will take several months to train pilots and ground crews to use the A-10. The author added, by the time the pilots and maintainers are ready, the war may be over. But the A-10 will still give the Ukrainian military an advantage if the ceasefire breaks down and fighting resumes. Also, Eastwood warned, because the plane is 45 years old and requires a full maintenance and repair plan, it also relies on spare parts that will not be readily available. Vladimir Putin will be outraged by the appearance of A-10s in the theatre of military operations, and this could lead to an escalation of the conflict. However, Putin's tanks will be destroyed in large numbers, and his troops will have to flee from defensive positions. if the powerful A-10s attack Russian targets. The expert expressed confidence. In his opinion, together with Ukrainian F-16s, A-10 aircraft could disable enemy air defense systems, and this could become a tactical way to solve the survivability problems. The A-10 Warthog can help Ukraine defeat Russia. It is time for Ukraine to win this war decisively. The A-10 Warthog can tip the scales in this bloodbath of a stalemate. Any type of aircraft that could provide that kind of firepower would be welcome on the battlefield. Time is running out, and Ukraine needs to gain more combat power to tip the scales. The A-10 can provide a big boost at the right time, Eastwood said. Recall that it was previously reported that the US Air Force decided to get rid of the A-10 Thunderbolt II attack aircraft and could transfer these aircraft to Ukraine. But as US Air Force Secretary Frank Kendall said, Ukraine has shown little interest. Even the United States itself does not share that view. I don't buy the idea that A-10 attack aircraft won't be effective on the battlefield in Ukraine, because this aircraft was literally designed to destroy Soviet and Russian armor. Yes, it's a little bit outdated, but so are ATA-CMS and HIMARS, said Luke Coffey, a senior fellow at the Hudson Institute. Yuri Fedorenko, the commander of Ukraine's 429th Separate Regiment of Unmanned Systems, Achilles, highlighted that efforts are currently underway to block Russian troops on the right bank of the Oskil River in the Kupiansk district. He shared the information on Espresso TV. The situation is challenging in the Dvorichna area as the Oskil River is quite narrow here. The enemy, exploiting the weather conditions, fog and later the ice cover, has deployed personnel to the right bank, where they have now established a sort of foothold, Fedorenko noted. According to the regiment commander, Russian forces are actively working on necessary preparatory measures, particularly the engineering preparation of the Oskil river banks. This is aimed at organizing regular crossings and ensuring the supply of provisions, ammunition, and light armored vehicles to their forces on the right bank. Additionally, they are working on bringing in trailed guns and establishing logistics for the continuous supply of ammunition. The Ukrainian Defense Forces are currently controlling the water area using unmanned systems. Our artillery also continues to target enemy positions. Measures are being taken to block the enemy, preventing its expansion on the right bank foothold and stopping the establishment of regular pontoon ferries, emphasized Fedorenko. Russians are actively attempting to send military equipment to the west bank of the Oskil River on the Kupiansk axis, reported Viktor Trekubov, a spokesperson of Khortytsia Strategic Group of Forces in the Ukrainian telethon. The situation, Trekubov says, is reminiscent of what happened in this section of the front line in January 2025. Back then, there also were attempts to transfer equipment across Oskil, while the number of combat clashes themselves wasn't high. On March the 13th, Trekubov reported that Russian troops managed to cross the right bank of Oskil on ice in February 2025, saying Ukrainian troops' job is to beat them out there. Russians managed to accumulate forces while the river was frozen, Trekubov said to Gwara media journalists. Moscow's troops ramped up their offensive on the Kupiansk axis in September 2024, when they managed to reach the outskirts of Kupiansk and pushed to the Oskil River in several directions across the axis.